This is a video on how to change the alternator on a 2004 Duramax LB7. I couldn't really find any good guides on the internet. Usually I try to find a guide to go from, step by step what to do. Even though when it looks obvious, usually if I find someone that has already told me what wrench sizes and things like that, usually makes it a little easier, but couldn't find any. So what I've done is first you have to loosen up the belt tensioner, and if we could see down there, there's a square hole in the tensioner that accepts a 1/2 inch breaker bar, and you simply put it in there and pull up on the breaker or on the bar, and then it frees up. I had difficulty in finding placement of the breaker bar, so I've got a little bar that has where the center can pivot or can slide up and down. So I simply put this on there first, and then pull the center to one of the edges to find a good leverage spot to go back with a larger breaker bar. Usually I try to use the largest bars or ratchets I can use, just because the leverage makes it easier. No point in working harder than you have to. But the placement I found that worked best for the breaker bar was going across the front of the engine, kind of right in through here, and then pulling directly up on it. At that point, the belt was loose and I could slip it over the pulley on the alternator. What I did next was I disconnected some sort of control wires. They go in right there. You can kind of see the other connector in the back here. This is the guy that was in there. Notice that there's a clip on the back. I slid a flat-headed screwdriver into this crevice here and pried up on that and then started wiggling the connector back and forth to get it to come out. Don't pry on that plastic too hard. Luckily I haven't on this truck, but previously when I couldn't get the connector to come out, I thought just because it wasn't freed up yet, so I pulled harder on it and just snapped it right off. Then second, what I did is you're going to want to disconnect the batteries from the system, so that it when you're moving around, that positive post on the terminal or on the alternator itself, which I can't really get to show up right now on the camera for whatever reason. Oh, there it is, right down there. Obviously I'm not that good with the camera here. See it right down there. Also, you're not going to want that to touch anything else that's metal in the area with battery and the juice in the batteries. So instead of connecting both batteries and losing all of my programming and whatnot, and some people may say I didn't do the right thing, but whatever works for me, is I came over to the distribution box here, opened it up, and normally this guy's in it. This is the lead from the alternator to the rest of the electrical system. It goes through this little hole right here, and actually sits behind this lug. This lug is what goes to the batteries. It was I believe a 17 millimeter socket on there. I've got one thing to take apart, not a whole bunch of stuff, and I had to lose everything. but because I disconnected that wire there instead of at the battery, because I couldn't figure out how to get a wrench in there. It appeared to be 10 millimeter, but I haven't gotten it out of the truck yet. I couldn't figure out how to get the wrench in there to do anything useful. The boot going over the connector was in the way, as was the intake, and I probably could have taken the intake off, but I try to take as few things apart as possible, because it just means I have to put them back later. But if you do that way, if you disconnect it from the distribution block and not from the alternator, you will have to keep in mind that there is a plastic clip down here that holds that in. It was kind of a pain in the butt to take apart, but you know, I'm not a mechanic, so I don't use these things all the time. It snaps together, I think, awkwardly, but apparently someone else thinks it's a good idea how that goes together. I just pried it apart with a little flathead screwdriver. Again, you know, it's small and plastic. Don't try to put too much power on it, you'll just break it. But I have that loosened up. So now that comes to the point where we can physically remove the alternator. You see two mounting holes here, one right here and one over here. These are 14 millimeter. I have this all, you know, pre-taken apart because you know, we don't want an hour and a half of me trying to figure out how to try different methods to take it apart. I just back those bolts out, and then with a pry bar, such as one of these, I inserted it down here in a gap that was in between the alternator and this piece of metal here, whatever that is. I don't know. Can't see what connects to it. But I put it in there, and you know, wiggling back and forth like this, wiggling like side to side like that, and eventually got that freed up. And then once I got that dislodged, it was quite easy to come over here, and again inserting my pry bar in between the alternator and the mount, and it popped right up at that point. When I first started, I started prying on this side, and it got to come free pretty easily, but then I had no room to pry over here, so I started from the center of the truck and went out. Seemed to be easier for me. But at this point, the alternator is free. Well, from the top, yeah, it's free. No, the control wire has been disconnected. The power wire has been disconnected from the distribution block, so it should just slide right out. And I guess we'll see how well that works. To put it back together, you just kind of I would assume do the reverse. If I come to anything complicated in the reassembly process, I'll make a new video. Thank you.